gonna love the heartache away. Hi, this is Travis Wayne Goodsell, if you hadn't known by now. Listening to Eddie Grant's Romancing the Stone. Just got back from my run, doing the cool down right now because I pushed myself this morning so that I can't stand up and run anymore. Alright, so yes, I'm a little bit tired and I may be hacking up a lung, but this is today's video, and I'm still pushing, Mormons. We've got the hardest of hearts to break, just like Moses with Pharaoh, who kept hardening his heart harder and harder and harder, despite all of the signs and warnings that he needed to let the house of Israel go. And so, yeah, it just happened that my first song as I was running this morning was Metallica's Creeping Death. And if you don't know Metallica, then you don't know Creeping Death. It's all about Moses, specifically Passover, when Creeping Death swept across the land, killing the firstborn man. So, yeah. And then I finished with Dream Warriors from Dokken. If you don't know Nightmare on Elm Street, then you don't know Dokken, you don't know Dream Warriors. And so, yes, this also ties into the Bible, not the song, but who was Joseph? He was a dream warrior. And so, he paved the way for Moses. And then in the cool down, just happened to be Van Halen's Dreams. Awesome song. We had a special presentation in high school that we got to skip class, whatever period it was, and go to the gym and on a big screen watch the video performance with the military jet fighters flying through the air and all that stuff. And then finished with Eddie Grant, Romancing the Stone. So why would the story of Moses confronting Pharaoh have anything to do with today? If you don't know, I just want to I could have had a V8. I hate V8. You know, it's got high fructose corn syrup in it, but still, tomato juice. Ooh, give me a Mountain Dew. So, Jeremiah 23. It's also in 16, but we'll go to 23 because that also emphasizes the last day Messiah, because it ties it. Whoops, no, we don't want New Testament, we want Old. In the Old Testament, I believe. Alright, so in verse 5 of 23, behold, the days come. So this is the Jewish Messiah, people. This is the last days Jewish Messiah. It is not Jesus Christ as Christians and even Mormons believe. And because Jesus did not meet all of the requirements. You can't just say, oh, Jesus is the one, therefore he's the one. That's not sound argument. The premise, he's the one, therefore I conclude he's the one. That's the most absurd. You'd get slapped around silly in the debate competition. So I never took debate. And it's weird because Samuel the Lamanite argued He contended with me. He attacked. He contended. And yet he was accusing me of debating, which he accused of being a wrong thing to do, calling it contention. Arguing. Mormons, get your definitions right. Oh my God, we're in a day when people make up their own definitions for things. It's like whatever the word they use, it has its own definition. And Webster's isn't keeping up with you. So why do you think that you are outsmarting Webster's? You know, when certain words dominate society, and it's common in lingo, then Webster's makes the addition or the change to the definition. You know, like cool. You know, originally cool had to do with temperature, not with status. And then gay was happy, not a sexual preference. So, yeah, for the Jews, they are the originators of the definition here, people. Not Christians, not Mormons. Jews are the originators of the definition. This is the Jewish Messiah of the last days. So behold, the days come in a future time, saith the Lord. And Lord's capitalized, which means that it's Yahweh, but I'd have to confirm that I will raise unto David, not I will not raise up David, it's I will raise unto David, which means David's line. Who is David? King David. A righteous branch. So here it is, the last days Messiah, and I'm probably gonna try to go through all my Messiah videos to write out everything so that I can go through a video just listing all of the prophecies of how to recognize him and know who he is. And a king shall reign and prosper. And this is incorrect in the English, because in Hebrew it would be a righteous branch and king. So thus it's one person, not two people. And thus it's a king and a high priest. And shall reign and prosper in the latter days. Jesus didn't do it, and Christians believe that Jesus is coming back a second time to do it. But that's not the Jewish definition, people. It's not the Egyptian definition either, which was the originator of the Jewish definition. Shall execute judgment and justice in the earth. See, execute judgment. He will be a judge. You remember the Bible book? Judges? Samson? Just had the movie about it. Anybody watch it? No. It didn't last too long in the theaters and went pretty much straight to DVD. The timing of it was brilliant. To bring it out during the time when he's on the earth. And so, yeah, King David is of the house of Judah. But the Jews know that this last days Messiah will not be a Jew. They know it. Because Ezekiel knew it. And Jews know Ezekiel. He is supposed to be a Gentile. But yet he's supposed to be raised up in the tribe of Judah. But again, you're not listening to my videos on this. What is the phonetic equivalent in the United States for Judah? Give you a hint, the J is not the J in Hebrew. Alright, so then we get to 7. Therefore, therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that they, in the future, shall no more say, the Lord liveth, who, not which, brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. That's Moses. Moses was inspired of the Lord, Yahweh, and delivered the house of Israel out of Egypt. That's what they're referring to here. God didn't do it. Moses was the leader to do it. So he's talking about the Exodus. Moses. And then he continues in verse 8. But the Lord liveth, which brought up and which led the seed of the house of Israel out of the north country, and from all countries whither I hath driven them, and they shall dwell in their own land. This is the latter-day gathering, and not by Joseph Smith. Remember, he died, just like Jesus died. It wasn't Jesus who delivered the house of Israel as the branch, the King of Kings. He failed, he died, he was murdered. He did the spiritual salvation and prepared the way to come back to him in the afterlife, but he did not save the Jews on earth. He did not save the house of Israel. He did not establish the kingdom of David. That is the prophecy. Jesus didn't do it. His mission was something else. This last days Jewish Messiah is the prophecy. He is the great King of Kings. He is the great high priest to restore the kingdom of God. And nobody knows this. Nobody agrees with this. They think that, oh, I believe otherwise, therefore you're wrong. Again, you can't argue that way. I don't believe, therefore you're wrong. It doesn't work that way, people. It's unbelievable. I can't use the word, I guess, because people would get offended, but it's beep slapped. Female dog slapped. You can't argue that way. It doesn't work. Man. And we are living in a day of such frustration where facts and evidence mean nothing. That people promote their beliefs as truth. Whatever they believe, that's the way it is, and nobody can challenge me, and I will get angry with them if they dare challenge me. You can't do that, Mormons. That doesn't prove you're right. It proves you're wrong. And see here we have in verse 11, for both prophet and priest are profane. Yea, in my house, the temple, have I found their wickedness. Who is he talking to? You, Mormons. The prophet and high priest are profane. The high priests go into the Holy of Holies. And Nelson took that away. No elder can become a high priest. And he's changed the temple text. And that one's the one about destroying the family is catching up to my temple text getting wrong videos. So those are skyrocketing. So yeah, we're at 2.5 last I checked last night. But the videos that I did about Mormon abuse, you can't abuse people, Mormons, and yet I still see the thumbs down. You can't get angry and abusive with people who say, stop, leave us alone, stop abusing us, stop abusing the women, stop abusing the children, stop abusing the poor, stop abusing blacks, stop abusing Puerto Rico. Yeah, Puerto Rico. You know, they took turns. Uchtdorf and Eyring took turns as to which state to visit during the hurricanes. Remember the hurricane in Texas? I think it was Uchtdorf that went to that one. And then Eyring was the one who went to Florida to do their photo shoot. Oh, look, we're here supporting the people who are doing all the work. And then we're giving a talk in church. What about Puerto Rico? Yeah, no photo op in Puerto Rico, was there? Puerto Rico was thrown the paper towel. And I was the first one that noticed that, because the news didn't catch that. They covered his whole speech thing while he was down there, and then showed him throwing paper towels at him, but nobody got upset that he was throwing in the paper towel at him, and connecting it with Trump saying, you're not getting funding, we're disowning you. Remember that? The tax bill for the rich that Orrin Hatch owned, it cut off Puerto Rico as a territory of the United States. And yet for some reason we're still considering it part of the United States as a territory still. So I'm confused as to when that was overturned. Because as far as I knew, Puerto Rico is still no longer a territory of the United States. But so yeah, let's talk about creeping death, shall we? Because this is the day, this is the time. The Jews are looking for a man like Moses. A man like Moses. There's a song I can't remember. Oh, Putin. That's right. A man like Putin. Da, 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 da. Putin has his own theme song. That's how powerful he is. And it's hilarious in the translation because it's a woman singing it, and she's talking about how her boyfriend beats her and how he's no good and how she wishes she had a man like Putin. Oh, man. That's absurd. First of all, if you're thinking that your leader in the government is better than your boyfriend who is following the example of the leader of the government, what's wrong with you? Oh man, but it's an awesome song. Look for it on YouTube. A Man Like Putin. John Oliver did a different version. Just as a warning, it's a little crude. So John Oliver should be starting up soon, I guess, not till February. So, but Bill Maher started last night. Okay, so creeping death. Pharaoh was just one man in control of both government and religion. Today, we don't have one man as a theocratic leader. We have two. We have the religion, which I've already indicated. The signs pointed out. It's clear. It's the LDS Church and the United States President. And so the two combined equal Pharaoh of the latter days. And both are hardening their hearts and causing the people's hearts to be hardened. Remember, when Moses was denied, Pharaoh increased the servitude, the slavery punishment with the house of Israel. Their bondage became harder. And they were upset with Moses, despite Pharaoh being the one causing this. The house of Israel still blamed Moses. And they continued to fight against Moses. They didn't like him as a leader. They wanted the way things were in America, Egypt. So yes, there is a prophecy that I found that when the latter day Messiah, Moses, triumphs and starts building the Zion, the New Jerusalem, here in the center of America, that there will be a contention. And so I need to get to that list to point it out. But I covered it in the video, one of the videos that are an hour and a half long, which is why nobody's watching them. So yeah, everybody talked and prophesied about this latter-day event. And here we have Nelson increasing the burden upon the members of the church. And, he's cut back on scripture study every other week or once a month, or who cares? He's cutting back Sunday school. You can't do that, guys. You need to be taught the scriptures so that you can know of the prophecies of the latter days. And so, yeah, Nelson is cutting you off from knowing about the prophecies. And he's taken away the high priesthood, so you can't go be exalted. He's stopped visiting the people, taking away home teaching. And yeah, I had a military vet post a thank you to me because he was unaware of what was going on, because he's in a hospital because of his injuries serving our country. And so he said, thanks, I had no idea what was going on, because nobody was visiting him. A member of the church, a veteran who sacrificed his life, and he's not even being visited by the church. And so yeah, this is getting bad, people. And so yeah, Trump today, he's making a huge announcement. And Lawrence O'Donnell said last night that he thinks Trump is going to cave, that he's going to relent and let the house of Israel go free. Let my people go. Another awesome song. I don't remember the original guy, but I think Louis Armstrong also did a version of it. But the original one, I can't remember his name. And so, yeah, what happened in that last time when Pharaoh finally relented? Creeping death. That was the final straw that caused Pharaoh to say, leave, go form your own land, your own kingdom. I cannot take the pain of having lost my firstborn son. And if you don't understand Egyptian with the way succession of leadership worked among the Egyptians, then you're not getting it. Because in Egyptian, the firstborn son is to rule the tribe, to rule Egypt. And so thus you can see that the way that the Lord took down Egypt to free the house of Israel was by cutting off the successor to the throne of Egypt. And yes, That was the destruction of the 18th dynasty and the establishment of what became the 19th dynasty. Despite the Yul Brynner and the other guy who played Moses, they were saying that it was Ramses. No. So, I already did a research book on it. Moses was Akhenaten, and it was during that time period, and his military uncle was the one who increased the bondage of the people and chased out Moses from Egypt and caused him to disappear, and the burdens were made. But Ramses the First was a vizier who was over, can't remember the Hyksos capital area in the land of the Delta. Still cooling off here. But, yeah, so what about the last days then? Is the Lord going to take out the firstborn of Nelson and Trump? No, they don't succeed. You know, the Nelson's firstborn son, which I think he finally had one after 7 or dozen girls. His son isn't going to be the one to take over the presidency of the church. Joseph Smith intended that, but Brigham Young changed all that. And so, yeah, it's different now. You have the president of the Quorum of the 12 who succeeds, and then so on and so forth. So how is God going to take out the successor to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints? If you're now shocked and going, did he just say that? Yes, I just said that. What do you think is going to happen? Pharaoh is both Nelson and Trump. Pharaoh, the corrupt leader. There's no need for the last days Messiah if everybody is good. There's no need to destroy the church in the United States if everybody's good. Destruction only happens because of wickedness crossing the line, getting to the extreme. Past feeling for Laman and Lemuel. And so, yes, Brigham Young was not authorized. And God is pissed. And members of the church have exited the church already. Over 13 million already. Look at my stats video. Church's own stats indicate it. They won't admit it. They're keeping it a secret. But their stats don't lie. And so, yes, how do you take out the whole church so that nobody can succeed to be the leader of the church? You have to take out all the prophets. And I don't know how it's going to be done. But that's the creeping death indicator with the story of Moses. Because no longer will they talk about the Exodus, but they will talk about the last days event of the last days Messiah, establishing the kingdom of David again on the earth, the 18th dynasty. If you haven't seen that video and read my book and read my blogs on my website, you know, Ta'ut Moshe. What's the phonetical equivalent of the T? Give you a hint. Spell past. See? Dawood, Moshe. Dawood, what's the Hebrew word for David? It's not a V, it's the W. Dawood. So yes, the Ta'ut Moshe dynasty is the David Moseses. So, yes, Moses was a David. He was given a different name title. So, but yeah, and so the government, they're not going to take out Donald Jr. That's not going to stop Trump. He'll just enrage him. And so, yeah, I'm sorry, Lawrence, but you're wrong. Trump is not going to cave. He's under too much pressure from his base to get that wall. He's got too much pressure to save face. And Pelosi has declared war. And he's not going to let some woman outsmart him and defeat him. And so yesterday, yes, no rides on military planes for Congress people anymore. You have to stay here and agree to the extortion threat. So yeah, no, I'm not seeing today's announcement as being anything good and positive. I see it as an escalation of the problem. And so, yeah, 1 o'clock Utah time. It'll be covered all over the news. So, and yeah, you can say, well, you know, Nancy denied Trump his State of the Union address, so this is his State of the Union address. And so but he's not interfering with the annual Women's March now. Remember, the Women's March was a bigger attendance than his own inauguration, even though he doctored the photo. And so, so yeah, how do you destroy the United States once and for all? You got to take out all 3 branches of government, the ones that are still getting paid during the government shutdown. While American citizens are suffering, our government leaders are still getting paid. And so, yes, we're looking at a huge catastrophe. And I don't know how it's going to be. I don't know what's going to happen. It obviously isn't going to be me. So if anybody's thinking that, FBI, you know, stop right there. I have no ability, I have no desire, though I do want everybody replaced so that we follow the Constitution. Remember the supreme law of the land? The one where the 3rd branch of government is supposed to keep the presidency in check when Congress fails in their duty to keep him in check? It is the Department of Justice that is supposed to take the president to court, the 3rd branch of government, to keep him in check. And yet we just saw yesterday, Mueller is refusing to indict the president, to take him to court, to keep him in check. And so yes, our government has collapsed. The final thread that it was hanging by is severed. We have no constitutional republic as we were supposed to be. And so, yes, destruction. After all the signs comes destruction. And guess what sign is ending all the other signs? And I thought it was the one last year when Monson died. I thought that was the moon sign, so that was all the signs. But then another moon sign happens this year. And it just so happens that it's the Egyptian day of the sign of the second coming, the feast of the second coming. Literally, that's what it was under the Egyptians. That day, Monday, when the total lunar eclipse, the super blood wolf moon, it just doesn't get any better than that. So yeah, this will be the last sign. There are other lunar eclipses, obviously, that will come, but none correspond with this time frame. And so, yeah, this should be it, which means after Monday. And here in Utah, it's Sunday, because the East Coast is on a different time zone. So on the East Coast, it's 12:12 when it hits totality. So, yeah, Monday for the East Coast, still Sunday for the Utahns and the Californians and even the Midwesterners. Oh man, so yeah, so creeping death, Mormons. God will soften your heart. And yeah, there's a Book of Mormon scripture on that. Is it soften? Heart soften. Destruction. Yep, here it is. First Nephi. What do you know? 18:20. And there was nothing, save it were the power of God, which threatened them with destruction, could soften their hearts. This was when they were on the boat. And they tied up Nephi because he was saying, "Quit dancing. Dancing is evil." No, it wasn't for dancing. It's because they weren't thinking that God had saved them, that God had inspired them to build the boat. They were partying recklessly. It had nothing to do with dancing. We have a footloose syndrome here in the church. In fact, I think it was filmed here in Utah, if I'm not mistaken. Footloose, filmed in Utah. So isn't that interesting that the religious leader was a Utahn? But, so, yeah, this is the Book of Mormon warning. And I've already gone over the history of the Book of Mormon and the coming of the church. And Mormons refuse to believe. I don't believe, therefore it's not true. Mormons. It's unbelievable. And if I tell you, no, you can't argue that way, then you accuse me of being contentious. You can't do that. It doesn't work that way. This is the warning, Mormons. This is why I'm doing all these videos. I'm warning you. The church is corrupt. Destruction is coming. Because only destruction will soften your hearts. And because this is now 40 minutes into the video, Mormons have already given up. You're not listening to me anymore. You've already put your thumbs down on this video. This is my warning to you guys. See, I can do this for Christians, but I'd have to use the New Testament. I can't use the Book of Mormon on Christians. I have to use the Old Testament on Jews. I can't use the Book of Mormon. And Christians and Jews don't come to my channel. Mormons and ex-Mormons, those who have been abused by the church, come to my channel. You are my target audience. You I am warning about. The ex-Mormons and the non-Mormons, they already know, but they don't know about this. They don't know that destruction is coming to the Mormon church. Because what is going to happen to you Mormons when all the prophets are gone? That no successor will be available. How are you going to think? Because you believe that God will not take the church from the face of the earth. That God will save the church. No. No. He has to destroy the wicked church to restore his true church and kingdom. He must destroy the federal government. And as I read to you from Alma 3, I believe it is, Amlici, and Moroni, or Mormon, steps in and points out, you know, though I say that the Lord cursed the Amlicites, I want you to understand that it was the Amlicites who caused the curse, not God. Do you want me to read that for you? I don't know if you've caught that in the other video where I brought that up. No, cancel. I know where it is. Book of Mormon, Alma 3. Amlicites were distinguished. They had marked themselves with red in their foreheads. That's what I was mentioning in the other video. What is the beast who is the President of the United States going to distinguish himself by? The number of the beast. The mark in the foreheads. What mark in the foreheads has Trump made that people are putting on their foreheads? MAGA. And no, MAGA does not equal 666 in Hebrew. But it's image of shofar, horn, or trump. So that's 666. Okay. This was done. Let's see. And it came to pass. And remember, or suffered. It came to pass who were not believe in the traditions of the Lamanites. They've kept the records. The word of the Lord was fulfilled. Behold, the Lamanites have I cursed, and I will set a mark on them. And I will set a mark upon them that they might mingleth. And again, I will set a mark, him that fighteth. And come on, where is it? All right, 19. Alma chapter 3, verse 19. Now I would that ye should see that they brought upon themselves the curse. He had previously saying, the Lord, the Lord, the Lord, and using his own words, I will set, I will set. And then he clarifies here, I would that you should see that they brought upon themselves the curse. So just like the destruction, they will bring upon the destruction, not God. So yes, it'll be a horrible destruction, but just know it is not God, technically, but it's a violation of God's laws. You know, if you pollute the environment, the earth will need to compensate to restore itself. And that's why we're experiencing the hurricanes, the floods, the fires. And it's just going to get worse because methane, you know, people say, oh, it's carbon dioxide. That's the problem. That's only because we're cutting down all the forests in the world. But that's not the big problem. The problem is the methane that is being released in the permafrost from the increased heat. And nobody's talked, well, I had the one video and I brought it up on one of my other videos. So one guy is aware because he was using a computer program putting in the data of the past recording of the methane increase in our atmosphere. And this was from scientific government data that he was going by from the website, the website of this. And then the projected in the future. Just, we ain't got a long time to live, people. The report that came out not too long ago, I think the end of last year, no, it's worse than what they're telling. So I don't understand why they didn't come out and give us the full thing and the urgency. But yeah, we're in big trouble. Destruction is coming by Mother Nature, if not by terrorist attacks, because Trump has opened up the borders to let anybody in with this government shutdown. You know, he complains, Democrats want open borders. I want a wall. And so what has he done? He shut down the government, and as a result, open borders. That which you falsely accuse in another reveals the same and worse fault in yourself. And that's my own testimony, shall we say, of the words of Jesus with the beam and the mote. So, yeah, destruction is coming, Mormons. And what are you going to do? You're going to mourn. Oh, what do we do? Those were good men. They were the Lord's anointed. They were leading us in righteousness. What do we do now? We have no one to lead us. We will have another leadership crisis, just like when Joseph Smith was murdered. And there will be people who rise up saying, oh, it's going to be me. I got to do it. No, it's me. The answer is already in Doctrine and Covenants, section 107, people. Verse 22. Do I need to read it for you? Because Joseph Smith gave the solution. If he couldn't put his son or a family member to replace him, Joseph Smith had a backup plan. And here is the backup plan in section 107, all the way down. Okay, so in 22 it starts with of the Melchizedek priesthood. There is a presiding high priesthood, 3 presiding high priests chosen by the body. And so that's why Joseph Fielding Smith Jr. overturned his who he succeeded as president of the church, who had more than 3 in the high priesthood, the presidency of the church. He went back, no, it has to be 3, because that's what the Lord revealed. So he was strict on that, but yet he succeeded in violation of the strictness of the law of God. So it's a little bit contradictory, Joseph Fielding Smith Jr. Okay, so here it comes, Mormons. Chosen. Chosen by God, right? No. Chosen by the president of the 12, right? No. Of the Melchizedek priesthood. Who's in the Melchizedek priesthood? Back then, under Joseph Fielding Smith, we had high priests, 70, and elders, and then patriarchs and bishops or high priests, but they're the leaders of the Aaronic priesthood, the priest quorum. But the presiding bishop, bishopric, and so, but the Melchizedek priesthood body, and 3 presiding high priests. And here is Joseph Smith's backup plan in case he dies and there's no successor. Chosen by the body. Who's the body? I'm sorry, they're not talking about the physical body, the human body. They're talking about the quorum of the Melchizedek priesthood holders. The body of the Melchizedek priesthood. Chosen by the body of the Melchizedek priesthood. The Mormon Church of Brigham Young has never followed that, have they? It's always been the president of the Quorum of the 12. The counselors go back into their line in the 12, and the president becomes the new president. That's how Nelson did it. But right here, revelation by God himself, according to the Mormon God, chosen by the body. Chosen. Do you know what chosen means? That means we're supposed to vote. When Monson died, when all of them died, the whole Melchizedek priesthood holders, which includes me, I was supposed to vote for the successor. We don't have that, do we? We're supposed to vote for the successor. We don't do that. We never did. Just like the Constitution, we never were a constitutional republic. Thus, the destruction that is needed to restore the United States of America and the Constitution to be the supreme law, and to restore the church. Voted by the Melchizedek priesthood. And that's what I put in the letter to the 70. Yeah. I warned them about the sign on the 21st, which here in Utah is Sunday night. I know something will happen. I don't know what. I won't cause it. God doesn't cause it. It is wickedness, the consequences of wickedness, that will cause it. And so I informed the 70 that there will be a way out. So Mormons, pay special attention. You are supposed to vote for the successor to the presidency of the church. And it's not supposed to be a corporation. We're supposed to be a religion, remember? And so when the vote happens, you need to vote for the last days Messiah. Not a member of the presidency of the 70, you know, Elder Clayton, nice guy, not him. Again, there are prophecies of who to look for, who to vote for. When this day comes, you need to know that you need to vote for God's choice, because God has prophesied of who is to be this successor. And so that's why I'm going to work on getting that video assembled this weekend before the sign, so that you will know who to look for and vote for when destruction occurs, so that you won't be weeping and wailing and thinking all is lost. There is hope, but you got to know your scriptures, people. You got to know your prophecies. See, so what's this sustaining vote that we do in conference? Well, that's where the rest of this sentence comes in. Upheld by the confidence, faith, and prayer of the church, the rest of the membership of the church, the Aaronic priesthood, the women, the children, upheld by the confidence. That's the sustaining of the vote of the Melchizedek priesthood for the president of the church, the great high priest. That's how it's supposed to be done. And they even go, all of the quorums are supposed to be done in that same manner. The elders' quorum. The elders are supposed to vote in your local ward for who is to be the president. It's not the stake president who selects. No. The elders of the ward are supposed to vote for who is to be the president of the elders' quorum. The teachers, the priests are the only exception. It's automatically the bishop. But the teachers and deacons, they are supposed to vote. And they need 7 to form a quorum. And let's see, I don't think they put the numbers, so I'm going to have to do 96 quorum. Oh, no. Elders. There we go. Oh, yep, here in 107 also. The duty of the president over the office of elders is to preside over 96. 24 teachers, and deacons 12. 12 deacons. 24 teachers, 48 priests, 96 elders. And so from the deacons of 12, there must be 7 present to make a vote in order to have a president of the deacons' quorum. That is Mormon God's official process for leadership in the church. It is not the bishop who decides who the president of the deacons' quorum and teachers' quorum are, or the priest group leader. We're not doing what God had commanded in the Mormon church. The Mormon God is not being obeyed by Mormons. Right here in section 107, this is how to organize the church. And Joseph Smith gave a way out in case he was murdered and there was no son to succeed him. And we failed. They failed. There was only the debate between Brigham Young and Sidney Rigdon. They didn't have a vote. They just gave a debate. The one spoke and then the other spoke, and back and forth. And people just chose who to follow. And many followed Sidney Rigdon, and many followed Brigham Young. And many followed, is it James Strang? I can't remember his first name, but Strang. There were many prominent Mormons, leader Mormons, who followed Mr. Strang, because Mr. Strang claimed, I have found a document or an ancient record on plates, and I have translated them. Oh wow, he's a seer. Yeah, remember seer was able to translate ancient documents? Not a single Brighamite successor have ever translated ancient documents and added them to our quad. And then Benson came out and said, we're sticking to the worst translation ever, and we're not adding anything. Even though we're supposed to have the Apocrypha, because in section 91, Joseph Smith said there's no need to retranslate it in his Joseph Smith translation, but we're not putting it in, as Kimball refused to put it in 1981, 79 was the Bible, and 81 was the triple combination. So, sorry Mormons, you can hate me all you want, but it's only hurting yourself. I am telling you the facts. I am warning you. And and we're at an hour. So nobody's listening now. So there you go. I will do a video telling all about the prophecies of the latter-day Messiah and who the Mormons are supposed to vote for, because he comes out of the LDS church. He has no status. He has never been a church leader, government leader, none. He's a lowly person, regular member. But he has special abilities to translate ancient documents and other things, which I will put in the video. So you will know who to vote for when the time comes. I do so much for you guys, and you just spit on me. All right.